Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna. Can you see my screen? Can you see my video? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayat Mudiraye. Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12, text number 44 to 47. Since 44 to 46 does not have any purport, so we will read them. Verse and translation, and then directly go to 47 to verse. And the chapter is titled Creation of the Kumaras and Others. Anvisikitra danda niti tathaivacha evam vyaritaya cha asan pranavo hi asya dharata. The science of logical argument, the Vedic goals of life, and also law and order, moral codes, and the celebrated hymns Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, and Swaha all became manifested from the mouths of Brahma. And the Pranava Omkara was manifested from his heart. Tasyonig asi lomabhyo gayatri chatvacho vibho trishtu mamsat asnutoho nustu jagati astana prajapate. Thereafter, the art of literary expressions, Ushnik, was generated from the hairs of the body of the Almighty Prajapati. The principal Vedic hymns, Gayatri, was generated from the skin, Trishtup from the flesh, Anustup from the veins, and Jagati from the bones of the Lord of the living entities. Madhyaya Pankti Utpanna Brihati Pranato Abhavat. The art of writing words, Panati, Pankati. The art of writing words, Panti, became manifested from the bone marrow, and that of Brihati, another type of verse, was generated from the life breath of the Lord of the living entities. And now, 47th verse. Sparsa tasya bhava jiva swaro deha udahrita usmanam indriyani ahu antastabalam atmana swara sapta viharena bhavanti sma prajapate. Sparsha, the set of letters from Ka to Ma. Tasyaha, his, abhavat, became, jivaha, the soul, swaraha, vowels, deha, his body, udaritaha, are expressed. Usmanam, the letters sha, 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 and ha. Indriyani, the senses, ahu, are called. Antasta, the set of letters so known as Ya, Ra, La, and Va. Balam, energy. Atmanaha, of of his self. Swaraha, music. Sapta, seven. Viharena, by the sensual activities. Bhavanti Sma, became manifested. Prajapatehe, of the Lord of the living entities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sri Prabhupada ki Jai. Brahma's soul was manifested as the touch alphabets, his body as the vowels, his senses as the sibilant alphabets, his strength as the intermediate alphabets, and his sensual activities as the seven notes of music. In Sanskrit, there are 13 vowels and 35 consonants. The vowels are a, e, u, r, l, e, I, o, and the consonants are kha, ga, ga, etc., like 25. Among the consonants, the first 25 letters are called the sparshas. There are also 4 antastahas. Of the ushmas, there are 3 shas called talavya, murdanya, and dantya. Talavya, murdanya, and dantya. The musical notes are shara, sare, gama, pada, ni. All these sound vibrations are originally called Sabda Brahma or spiritual sound. It is said, therefore, that Brahma was created in the Mahakalpa as the incarnation of spiritual sound. The Vedas are spiritual sound, and therefore there is no need of material interpretation for the sound vibration of the Vedic literature. The Vedas should be vibrated as they are, although they are symbolically represented with letters which are known to us materially. In the ultimate issue, there is nothing material because everything has its origin in the spiritual world. The material manifestation is therefore called illusion in the proper sense of the term. For those who are realized souls, there is nothing but spirit. Aham Brahmasmi. Om Agnanatiminandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurmitan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manabhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swamrupa Kalamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Krishna Padaya Krishna Prestaya Kutale Kuruta. Hare Krishna. In this chapter, we see, especially this verse, is Lord Brahma's further creation. Right. This is the secondary creation. And after he created the various rishis, the Kumaras, and then his daughter, and then sent about his daughter, then he further creates the 4 Vedas, the Upavedas, Pancham Veda, which is the Puranas and Itihas, which is a point to be noted by the preachers. Many times we hear, where the personal feature of the Lord is mentioned, based on the Vedas. Right? Based on the Vedas, when years back when I was in Juhu temple or Chapati, they will have debates among the brahmacharis to sharpen their skills for preaching. And then one party would be impersonalist, another party would be personalist, and then they will say, okay, from the impersonalist aspect, we will refer to the Vedas only. And you prove where in Vedas does it say about the personal feature of the Lord. So this verse, which was there, the 34th verse or something, where 39th verse, where the Lord talks about the Pancham Veda, right? Pancham Veda. The Pancham Veda, the Puranas and Itihas is also considered as Pancham Veda. And based on that, Puranas, we have the personal feature of the Lord mentioned. So even from the Vedic perspective, the personal feature of the Lord is mentioned. Right? And then the Karma Tantram, we see the 4 legs of Dharma, the ashramas, the 4 types of sannyasis. And then we see in the 44th verse, he starts talking about the logic. That logic, Anvishiki, Vedic goals, Trai and Varta, law and order, and moral codes, Dandaniti. They all come from 4 mouths, and it is also nicely structured. That it comes from east to north, right? East, south, west, north. So when it says logic, it comes from the east side, Anvisiki, Vedic goals, Trai and Varta comes from the south and west, and law and order. Yeah, Vedic goals come from the south, law and order comes from the west, and moral codes comes from the north. And then similarly, the sounds, Buhu comes from the east, Bhuva comes from the south, Swaha comes from the west, and the combination of Bu, Bhuva, Swaha comes from the north. Nicely structured. And the Pranava Omkara comes from the heart. The heart of Lord Brahma comes the Pranava Omkara sound. And then we see in the the Usnik, the art of literary expression comes from the bodily heads, the Gayatri, which we chant, the Brahmanas chant the Gayatri every day, especially the Brahma Gayatri. Om Bhubhuvasva Tatsaviturvanem Cha Bhargo Devasya Dhimi Dhyana Prachodayata, which is 24 syllables, which is the principal Vedic hymns, comes from the skin of Lord Brahma. The Tristup, Anustup, and Jagati, they are the poetic syllables. That comes from the flesh and muscles. Tristup comes from the flesh and muscles. Anustup comes from the veins. And Jagati comes from the bones. The Pankti, the art of writing verses of 40 syllables, comes from the bone marrow. And the Brihati, 36 syllables, another type of verse writing, comes from the prana. And now, in these particular words, the sparsha, right, the touch alphabets, and Srila Prabhupada explains that in Sanskrit there are 13 vowels and 35 consonants, right? And he mentions the vowels. A, I, U, all 13 vowels. And then 35 consonants, of which 35 consonants, the 25 consonants comes from the sparsha. Sparsha meaning touch, right? The touch consonants. Why? Because the tongue touches different areas inside the mouth. So then we have the guttural consonants as ka, kha, ga, ga, and na. So guttural, and then na comes from nasal. Where it means when the tongue touches the upper palate, and it the nasal nerves also gets activated. While pronouncing that letter. Then the palatal, cha, cha, ja, ja, and na, the retroflex, ta, tha, da, dha, and na, the dental, ta, tha, da, dha, and na, and labial, pa, pha, ba, bha, and ma, also called as apavarga. Right, pavarga, not apavarga, pavarga. Pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. So, and Srila Prabhupada mentions uh, that the consonants which start from ka, kha and goes all the way to ma, right? That's the sparsha alphabets. Those gets created, the touch alphabets. And then the vowels, then his senses are the sibilant alphabets. And strength as the intermediate alphabets. And that is also explained. Let's see. The Usmanan, the latter sha, 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 the three sha, which are further explained by Srila Prabhupada in the purport as Talavya, Murdanya, and Dantya. Right. And then the musical notes, right, as Sare Gama Padhani, that comes from the sensual activities of Lord Brahma. So those musical notes are mentioned as it comes from Sabja, because the Sadegama are the acronyms, where Sa stands for Sabjama, Sa Re, Re stands for Rishabha, Ga stands for Gandhara, Ma stands for Madhyama, Pa stands for Panchama, Da as Daivata, and Ni as Nishada. Saregama Pada Ni. So all are musical notes which those who learn music, the harmonium, even in Dhinna, even Minanga to some extent, all these musical notes, they come from the sensory activities, sensual activities of the Lord Brahma. And that's why it is said that the Brahma was created in the Mahakalpa as the incarnation of spiritual sound. Mahakalpa. The Kalpa is one day of Lord Brahma. So Mahakalpa means the first day of Lord Brahma. These sounds were created. And the Vedas, Srila Prabhupada mentions that they are the spiritual sound. And therefore there is no need of material interpretation for the sound vibration of the Vedic literature. Right? We cannot interpret materially about the sound vibration of the Vedic literature. The Vedas has to be understood the way they are. Right? It has to be understood the way it is presented. We cannot use a material concoction of the Vedas. Oh, it should be like this, it should be like this. Right? Yeah. And Srila Prabhupada mentioned that it should be vibrated as they are, although they are symbolically represented with letters, which are known to us materially. But ultimately, all of that is coming from the spiritual world. The origin is from the spiritual world. The material manifestation, therefore, is called illusion in the proper sense of the term. That should be a point noted here where Srila Prabhupada so nicely presents that in this purport. Should be noted in the proper sense of the term. It's illusory, but it's temporary. From that point, it is illusion. Not that it is illusion that it does not even exist. The impersonalist thinks about it in the terms of that the material world is illusion. It does not even exist. Right. But Srila Prabhupada stresses that in the proper sense of the term, it is illusory in the sense that it is shadowy or it's the temporary nature of the material world. It's not that it does not exist. It exists. Right. And ultimately, the impersonalists also believe that, and the personalists also believe that. Ultimately, yes, ultimately everything is spirit. Aham Brahmasmi, spirit soul. We have these three forms of energy of the Supreme Lord. Antarangi Sakti, internal energy of the Lord. Bahirangi Sakti, the material energy of the Lord. Tadastha Sakti, the marginal energy of the Lord, which is the living entities. So Antarangi Sakti, Bahirangi Sakti, and Tadastha Sakti. Right. So that is spirit. Aham Brahmasmi, which the impersonalists will think about Aham Brahmasmi. Ultimately, when I become realized, I will think that everything is spirit and material nature is completely illusory. It's not even there. The person says, no, material energy is there. That's also the energy of the Supreme Lord. That's the material energy of the Supreme Lord. Bahirangi Sakti of the Supreme Lord. It is illusory in the form of it covers the living entities, thinking that it is real, but it's temporary. In that form, it is illusory. Right. But it's real. Avatanic, Avatarani Shakti, where it covers the living entities to make them forget of their real nature, to make them forget about their spiritual nature. From that aspect, it's illusion. It covers the living entities and it's considered as illusion. Not from literary sense that it is illusion means it is false to begin with. No, it's there. This sport, Durga, is created for the rebels who wants to rebel against the Supreme Lord. Oh, why? You have to be the supreme enjoyer. We also want to enjoy. Okay. Try it out. And then they fail. Right. That's why it is called fort. And that's why it's named as Durga. Right. Which is the Shakti of the Supreme Lord. For the Lord, there is no difference of Durga. The internal energy is also called Durga, Yogamaya, and the external energy is also called Durga, Mahamaya, under whom everybody falls into that illusion. Right. For the internal energy, the internal devotees of the Supreme Lord, they don't come under Mahamaya, they come under Yogamaya. The pastimes of the Supreme Lord are carried out also by Yogamaya. Yogamaya mam samavitaha. While the living entities completely are covered by Mahamaya. Because they wish to enjoy separately from the Supreme Lord. And the Lord creates this playground. Okay, try it out. Yeah. So that's this particular section of the creation, secondary creation of Lord Brahma, coming to this verse, and further you will see from text number 48, further Lord Brahma is explaining. Okay, are there any questions, discussions, realizations? We have 6-7 minutes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, we see all these references, like today it is how the alphabets, consonants, and all that, and how it is coming from different parts, so we can understand the personal aspect of creation. Similarly, from Krishna, trees are, you know, um, um, it's not coming to me. Anyway, so we can understand the personal aspect of the. But then, what's the whole point of all this? I think it is something like, uh, isn't it very basic? Because I'm seeing, um, if when we are chanting the Gayatri mantra, do I really need to know where it is coming from? I can understand, like, if I see the trees and I can say this is the hair, it can remind me. These are all reminders of Krishna. So, from that aspect, it makes a little sense. But then, when we are thinking, so much there is stress, listen to the sound vibration. Even in Purport Prabhupada says, these are spiritual sounds. Just listen. So, why then connect something else?
Yeah, well, there are those who want to know where all it came from, right? There are those whose mind dwell, where all it came from. For them, no, it's important to know where all it came from. And for us to understand also that ultimately everything came from the Supreme Lord in this systematic way. But again, as you mentioned, not that means we have to continuously dwell. Sabda Brahman, it's mentioned, okay, that sound, the name of the Lord is non-different from the Supreme Lord. Right? Nama Naminaha, Abhinatvam. So they are non-different from each other. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Right? They're non-different from each other. So just meditating on that sound vibration. The sound vibration here in this verses are mentioned about all these vowels and consonants. Everything is a sound vibration. Right? But the real sound vibration of the Supreme Lord's supreme name, which is not different from him. Right? It's not different from him. We can just meditate on that sound vibration. So here, in this chapter, based on the conversation of Maitreya Muni and Vidur Maharaj, he is describing this entire secondary creation. And from that aspect, it is being mentioned. Right? Well, just like Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned, okay, the first canto and the second canto are the feet of the Supreme Lord, and then it goes up all the way to the face, where 10th canto is the face of the Supreme Lord. Right? But ultimately, we want to dive deeper into that. What it tells us that, okay, normally when we want to see the Supreme Lord, we start from the feet. Right? The Prabhupada guides us that, when we see the Supreme Lord, we should directly not see the face. We should see the feet first and then go up. And Kunti Maharani sees the stomach first, right? Because he is the aunt of the Supreme Lord. Now, what is that? Pankajanaabhaya, Nama Pankajanaabhaya, Nama Pankajanetraya, Nama Pankajamali, Namaste Pankajangraya. This is in that order. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport of that verse that, Kunti Maharani, because he's the ant, she can see from the navel up and then come down to the feet. But devotees should see from the feet first and go all the way to the face. Right? So these are various descriptions to guide us. But ultimately, as you mentioned, okay, ultimately we just have to focus on the sound vibration. But if you want to know where it came from, these are all the descriptions. If we are interested, just like the Vedas, each and everything, how it came from, there's a description of that in the Vedas. But it's just so vast, we won't be able to cover it. Instead, we just focus more on Pancham Veda. Pancham Veda is also Puranas and Itihas. That is also so vast. And there are main 18 Puranas. And then out of that main 18, Srimad Bhagavatam is one Amala Purana, topmost Purana. So we just focus on that or something. But those who are scholarly, they want to focus, oh, I want to know this also, I want to know this also. Okay. The vastness is there. People can do masters and PhD theses and so many things from just this Vedic literature. That's how I kind of understand this. Yes, all these details are there, but ultimately, that as you mentioned, we just meditate, and ultimately, we see the light. Prabha Asmi Sashi Suryo, right? The light of the sun comes from me. The light of the moon comes from me. The Supreme Lord says that. The taste of the water comes from me. Rasam Apsu Kaunteya. Right? So everything, all those vibhutis also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, reminds us that ultimately everything comes from the Supreme Lord. So why don't I just meditate on the Supreme Lord? Right? Is that good?
Yeah, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Go.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you so much for wonderful class as usual. Prabhuji, like you mentioned, we had to take darshan from lotus feet to face and eyes. But sometimes it happens, Prabhuji, the Shringari is so beautiful, so directly we see Radharani's face and Sham Sundar's face. So is it offense, Prabhuji, then?
Well, it's not an offense, but that should guide us again. Oh, let me look from the feet. We should try to meditate to bring our eyes back to the feet.
Yeah,
that
then
we can come back in
do.
the
But
consciousness.
yeah, but once you see the face, you can go all the way to feet and then take darshan. So we can do that. But so attractive.
Yeah, so in the initial stage as a student, so that's why its guidance is given there. Start from the feet.
Yeah, we should have habit of that.
Like in the Kali Yuga, everything is different. Like in we see in Treta Yuga, Lakshmana, when he's mentioned about Lord Ramchandra said, oh, don't you remember? Oh, this is the Nupur of Sitaman. He said, oh, I never looked beyond the lotus feet of Sita Maharani.
Yeah, Sita Mata, yeah.
Right. So now we don't look that way. We are polluted in our consciousness. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay, we are at 7:02. Further discussion, we can take it to Nityam Bhagavata Sevya group. Thank you very much. We'd like to wish you all a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead and offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare.
Jai Narsingha.
Jai Narsingha, Shri Narsingha, Jai Jai Narsingha Deva, Praladesha, Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma Bringa, Ugram Vigram Mahavishnu, Sarvatam Tam, Narshingam Pishanam Bhattam, Mrityum Mrityam Namami Ham. Jai, Jai.
Let us offer our humble obeisances at the lotus feet of all the Samar Vaishnavas.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
वैष्णविंद की
जय
श्रीमद् भागवत की
जय
शिला प्रभुपाद की
जय
गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरि बोल
Hari Bol.
हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you so much.
Hare
Madhupati
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Madhupati
everyone.
Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
everybody.